Welcome back to Reddit Echoes, the channel where real-life stories from Reddit are told with authenticity, drama, and plenty of intrigue. Today I'm going to share a story that if you hadn't witnessed it firsthand, you probably wouldn't believe how blatantly someone tried to pull off a scam. It's about what seemed like an ordinary St. Patrick's Day trip that turned into an intense drama when the hotel manager deliberately canceled a booking to hike up the price to double, and the unexpected outcome I experienced. Let's dive in and see what happened and how the main players handled the situation. Story 1. The boss who ruined his own career. Hello, everyone. Today, I want to share with you a truly hilarious story about my new boss, the guy who ended up packing his bags and leaving after only 6 weeks on the job. Don't get me wrong, I'm not someone who likes to sabotage others, but this happened exactly like a funny trap life set for him. I work at a semi-public company that supports local businesses. My team's work was pretty solid, high-performing, and we were proud to be one of the best teams nationwide. Then the old boss left for a private company, and we got a new boss recruited from a similar organization in another region. This guy worked on a 4 days on then a Friday off schedule, which sounded relaxed, but it was already a bit unusual. Right from the start, this boss was pretty difficult, extremely picky about work methods, and annoyed some colleagues with harsh criticism. I didn't have a problem yet, thinking I should just adapt to his style. Then one day during a team meeting, he bluntly declared that our team's performance was unsatisfactory, even though everyone knew we were the best. He wanted to intervene deeply in everyone's work and insisted on being CC'd on all emails sent to clients to monitor and edit every detail before we responded. Everyone found this process cumbersome and unreasonable, but no one dared to object. I was a bit curious, so I asked very politely, "Sir, so if we receive emails on Friday, do we wait until Monday to respond, because we have to wait for your review?" That simple question made the boss furious. He called me after the meeting, harshly scolded me, said I had bullied him in front of the team, that it was unprofessional behavior, and even threatened to report me to HR for dismissal if I repeated it. I'm not someone who easily succumbs to pressure. I agreed, then went back to my desk and did something very mischievous. I wrote a self-report email to HR detailing everything from the meeting, the boss's scolding, and even admitting I was a dangerous bully who needed retraining. I CC'd the union representative as well to ensure the matter would be seriously monitored. Just 1 day later, the union rep, the boss, and I were invited to meet with the HR manager. The HR manager reviewed everything and found no signs of bullying. Instead, he noticed contradictions in the boss's statements. I was asked to leave the room while the union rep continued discussions, and just 6 weeks later, the boss lost his job. Even better, the HR manager called me privately to thank me for reporting the issue promptly so they could clear the way for a better manager. Honestly, without that funny and deliberate self-reporting move, this story probably wouldn't have become a classic example of the beloved malicious compliance subreddit following the rules exactly, but using it to strike back. The old boss destroyed his own career with his hot temper and outdated management style. Conclusion. From this story, I learned that you don't always need to fight back loudly or directly. Sometimes doing everything by the book while cleverly using procedures and leveraging the system's power can protect you and defeat bullies more smartly and effectively. If you ever have a difficult boss who bullies co-workers, remember this story. You might find your own legal way to play tricks and make them regret it. Sometimes silence and strict adherence to rules are the sharpest weapons. Story 2. Wearing a suit to work and the unexpected outcome with the killer boss. I'm usually a pretty calm person, but this story is too hilarious not to share. It made me feel so satisfied I can hardly describe it. Everything started when I was hired at a new company, working under a boss named Josh, who from the very beginning gave me a rather unpleasant vibe. Josh is the kind of boss who loves to micromanage and nitpick every little thing, even though my work was fine and there was nothing to complain about. Every time I got criticized, I tried to ask clearly what he wanted, what he expected me to do differently. But Josh's answers were always vague, like, just do better. Don't worry about the details, just do it well. I remember once I met directly with HR alongside Josh to resolve this issue, but things didn't really improve. Then one day, Josh suddenly came to my desk and said I needed to dress more professionally. I was stunned because our company culture is pretty casual. Everyone wears jeans, hoodies, t-shirts, and baseball caps. I usually wear button-up shirts, khakis, and Adidas sneakers, and I never thought it was anything unprofessional. Suddenly, he said dress better without clarifying and told me to ask HR. I did, and HR gave a very general answer: long pants, closed-toe shoes, no tank tops, and confirmed that I hadn't violated any dress code. At that point, I was so annoyed that I started planning a little revenge. The next day, I came to work wearing a full suit, the kind of suit I only wear to weddings or big events. The suit fit perfectly and was shiny. Standing there in the office, everyone stared. Some even asked, "Is there a special event today?" I just smiled and said, "The boss told me to dress better." That whole day, nobody could believe I showed up in such a flashy suit in a company where everyone else dressed super casual, ripped jeans, hoodies, and all. I did this just to prove to Josh that I followed his order exactly. From then on, people started gossiping about my odd suit, and the story quickly reached the CEO, who is Josh's boss. Surprisingly, that very afternoon, the CEO came to my desk and told me I no longer needed to report to Josh. I would report directly to the CEO from now on. The reason the CEO had a serious talk with Josh about his nitpicking, vague management style and some other issues. Josh was immediately demoted from boss to a regular employee. I felt so indescribably satisfied. The whole company laughed when they heard the news, and I started planning to wear another suit the next day, but a bit more subtle, not as over the top as that one. Conclusion. This story showed me that sometimes you don't need to fight back directly. You just have to know how to follow the rules deliberately and cleverly, and you'll make those who love to pick on or harass you end up powerless. I think Josh was definitely an outdated boss wanting to put pressure but not knowing how to inspire, and in the end, his own grumpiness did him in. I also hope that if you ever encounter difficult bosses like this, stay calm, observe the rules carefully, and learn to play by them smartly. Who knows, like me, you might be the one laughing last. Story 3. The Dublin holiday trip and the legendary plot twist. My best friend and I booked a room at a shabby bed and breakfast in Dublin 2 months ago for St. Patrick's Day, one of the busiest times in the city. I just wanted a reasonably priced, convenient place with a double bed to save costs. Seeing the price at $115 night, I thought it was quite reasonable for the peak season. About 3 weeks before the trip, the manager suddenly messaged me through the booking app saying there was a problem and that I had to cancel immediately. No apology or further explanation, just constant phone calls and daily harassment texts demanding cancellation so they could resell the room. This really annoyed me because it was pay on arrival and I hadn't canceled yet, but was already disturbed to the point of losing sleep and appetite. Something felt off, so I checked on Booking.com, and sure enough, the room I booked was relisted at double the price over $230 night. They were clearly trying to price gouge during the holiday, waiting for customers to cancel so they could sell at a higher price, a classic but unpleasant tactic. I called Booking.com, explained the whole situation, and they agreed to help me find alternative accommodation within a 1-kilometer radius from the original location. I rejected the option to stay at a hotel far from the city center because going to a festival and staying miles away wouldn't be fun. Booking.com promised to play fair. Now the real struggle began. Finding any available rooms within 1 kilometer in Dublin during St. Patrick's was like searching for a needle in a haystack. Every hotel was fully booked except for one prestigious 4-star hotel, charging $350 night, nearly 3 times the original price. I hesitated, but Booking.com said it was the most viable choice and that they would cover the price difference. After waiting over 25 minutes on the phone as the agent consulted supervisors, I finally received a booking link with the price discounted. I didn't hesitate to confirm, even though I had to pay a large amount up front. After the trip, I sent receipts and documents to booking, calm to claim the $235 difference. Exactly 1 week later, the refund hit my account, and I felt like I had been upgraded unexpectedly without paying extra. That feeling was like winning a big bet, even though it was just about a holiday. I still tell this story to friends, and everyone admires how Booking.com handled the issue smoothly and how I didn't give up. Conclusion. Sometimes you feel like you got ripped off or treated unfairly, but don't give up or get angry unnecessarily. Always stay calm, carefully check the situation, and know how to use legitimate support channels. I think this story is not only a lesson in perseverance and courage, but also a reminder that customers deserve protection and support when problems arise. If you've ever faced a similar situation, share your experience so others can learn. And don't forget to like and share the video to support me. Story 4. The small battle on the soccer field and the relentless call-out. I'm 15 years old and work as a referee for youth soccer matches. This job is pretty interesting and also helps me earn some pocket money. Usually, I arrive at the field about 10-15 minutes early to check the teams, and make sure the field meets the rules before the game starts. One time, I was assistant referee alongside the center referee named Dave, who is 18 years old. I know officially referees are supposed to arrive 30 minutes early, but everyone knows that for small matches like these, no one really makes a big deal about showing up early. I didn't say anything about it, even though I clearly only arrived 15 minutes early as usual. The match went smoothly with no major issues. But at the end, Dave told me that because I didn't arrive 30 minutes early, he would mark me as absent, meaning I wouldn't get paid for the match. I was pretty shocked and responded that this was a rule Dave made up himself and wasn't in the official regulations. He didn't bother replying and just walked away thinking it was over. But I wasn't going to let it slide. I started registering as the main referee, standing in the center for all the matches where Dave was assistant. And I decided to get back at him by showing up 15 minutes late, arriving only 15 minutes early instead of the 30 he demanded. The result was hilarious. For every match I marked Dave as absent due to his late arrival. This went on for nearly 2 weeks until Dave's pay was docked about $120 because of the increasing number of matches he wasn't paid for. Dave didn't understand what was going on and asked the referee manager, Mr. John. After a few email exchanges, Mr. John learned the full story and decided to take strict action. Dave was fired for arbitrarily making up rules against the regulations and negatively impacting others. Meanwhile, I was paid for the first match Dave banned me from. Conclusion. This story is probably a warning to anyone who likes to abuse power or impose unreasonable pressure on others. Young people can be easily bullied, but don't let anyone push you around with unjust rules. I think this is not just about fairness at work, but also a lesson in perseverance and standing up for your rights smartly and tactfully. Have you ever faced a similar situation? Share your story so everyone can learn from it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy authentic, insightful stories with a bit of edge like this. Story 5. The Wild Backyard and the Battle with the Serial Snitch. I live in a pretty peaceful countryside area, and my backyard is literally wild in the truest sense. I don't have a perfectly manicured green lawn with neatly trimmed trees. Instead, I let everything grow naturally, even planting quite a few wildflowers and native plants like lupine sunflowers, spiderwort, and scattered driftwood trees that create shelters for insects, birds, and even squirrels and rabbits. In general, my yard is a little natural world full of life and very beautiful in its own unique way. But I'm sure you can guess how the rest of the story goes, right? One beautiful day, I got notified by the local authorities that my yard was violating landscaping regulations because it was too wild and not tidy enough. I was genuinely surprised because I had carefully checked everything and was certain that my yard fully complied with local laws on plants and landscaping. What was stranger was that a neighbor who seemed to have nothing better to do submitted as many as 30 complaints about messy landscaping in multiple homes in the area, including mine. That's why my yard was being scrutinized so closely. I decided to get to the bottom of this, research the laws more thoroughly, and discovered that my garden fully met the criteria to be recognized as a nature conservation area, a protected ecological zone. After registering and paying the fees, I was issued a certificate declaring my backyard a nature conservation area. I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the complaints, sent them the certificate and evidence proving my garden's full legality, while emphasizing how my yard greatly contributes to the local biodiversity. Their reaction surprised me. The officer happily thanked me, said they would keep the file and stop all complaints against my backyard. Since then, I've put up a sign marking the area as a nature conservation zone, so no one dares to bother me anymore. I'm very proud of my wild backyard where birds, butterflies, and even little squirrels have a safe and peaceful home. It's the achievement of my family and me, a lifestyle choice that's environmentally friendly and one I fully support. Conclusion. This story is not just about a patch of land, but also a lesson in standing up to protect the environment and defend your rights against baseless criticism and unreasonable snitching. Have you ever faced such annoying situations? Share your experiences so everyone knows, and together, we can protect the good things around us. If you enjoy real-life stories that are funny yet deeply meaningful like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss any new videos from the channel. Story 6. The perfect payback. When the boss becomes the victim of himself. I work at a public company and have been dealing with a very strict new boss. He was just transferred from another unit, bringing along a bunch of rigid rules that made the whole team feel suffocated. He's known for being a control freak who wants everything done his way. And the worst part? He insists on being CC'd on every email sent to clients so he can review and comment before we reply. You know, this is basically torture, because every time you respond to an email, you have to wait for his approval, causing delays and a lot of inconvenience. During a team meeting, he made a chilling statement. "Your performance is not good enough. I will monitor every single email and response to ensure quality." Hearing that, the entire team just sat silently. I got curious and asked, "So what about emails received over the weekend? Should I wait until Monday for your approval before sending a reply?" Unexpectedly, he exploded right there, accusing me of bullying colleagues, being unprofessional, and even threatened to report me to HR to get me fired. I was stunned, but I couldn't tolerate his style. Back at my desk, I decided to send an email to HR detailing every part of the meeting, his words and attitude, even accusing myself as a bully who deserves to be fired just to draw attention and escalate the issue. HR launched an investigation and held meetings with me, the boss, and union representatives. I don't know what the boss said, but a few weeks later he was fired. Honestly, it was a perfect payback from my counterattack at the right time, using his own strictness to take him down. From this story, I learned that sometimes facing the problem head-on and wisely using power is the best way to protect yourself from unfair oppression at work. Conclusion. This story shows that blindly following the rules isn't always the right thing. When management becomes too authoritarian and inflexible, they sometimes bring failure upon themselves. If you've ever encountered a similar boss, please share your experience below. And don't forget to subscribe for more interesting stories that are both real and humorous, like this. Story 7. St. Patrick's Night and the Unbelievable Last-Minute Switch. My close friend and I had planned months in advance for the St. Patrick's weekend in Dublin, a famous, lively, and crowded holiday. To save money, I booked a rundown bed and breakfast for only $115 per night, which seemed quite cheap for peak season prices. However, about 3 weeks before the stay, the manager of that place suddenly messaged me through the booking app saying I had to cancel immediately due to some issues and that they couldn't accommodate guests. I was a bit confused but thought maybe something happened, so I didn't cancel right away. But as time went on, the calls and messages pressuring me to cancel quickly kept coming, demanding I cancel soon so they could recover the payment. That's when I started to get suspicious and quietly checked my booking on the app, only to discover something shocking: the manager had relisted my room at double the price. I realized this was a blatant price gouging tactic, trying to force me to cancel so they could sell it at a higher rate during the busy holiday. I was really angry, so I immediately called the booking platform's customer service and explained the entire situation clearly and in detail. They were also shocked by the manager's actions and promised to help me. The best part was when Booking.com agreed to compensate me by booking me into a nearby hotel within 1 kilometer of a far better quality place. At first, they tried to push me to a hotel far outside the city center, but I refused since the events and parties were all downtown. Finally, I got upgraded to a luxurious 4-star hotel with 2 spacious double beds, a beautiful room, and top-notch service, all for the same price as my original booking. Of course, I had to pay the hotel up front and keep the receipt for reimbursement, but a few days later, the extra $235 was fully refunded. I felt both satisfied and thrilled by this perfect flip in the situation. I still remember the moment I heard Booking.com agreed to rebook and compensate me. It felt like winning a big battle at just the right time. I ended up having a fun and memorable St. Patrick's experience in a fancy hotel that I probably would never have dared to try otherwise. Conclusion: this story is a valuable lesson for anyone planning to travel, especially during major holidays. Don't hesitate to speak up when treated unfairly. Stand up for your rights, and you might be surprised by how well things can be resolved. If you've ever faced dishonest dealings or unforgettable travel stories, share them below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss more true, dramatic, and sometimes funny Reddit stories like this. So my St. Patrick's Day trip story ended on a high note, a free hotel upgrade, and complete satisfaction. But it also serves as a warning to all of us in life. There are always those who try to take advantage of trust for their own gain, and only when you dare to stand up and protect your rights can you come out on top. If you enjoy stories like this, authentic, dramatic, and sometimes full of laughter, please hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe to Reddit Echoes so you never miss a story. Thanks for joining me, and see you in the next videos.